Hey, family. Hey, good people. It is Jody. I am back again. Forever Voice. It is episode 13. Who? Yeah, episode 13. This is an episode about finding you, staying with you, growing you. Yeah, time for us to do that work. Let's go. Hey, friends. This is Jody, ready to get started here with an episode of Forever Voice. So this particular episode is an episode about authenticity. It's an episode about being your true self, also recognizing when someone else is being their true self and accepting it for just what that is. And it's a journey. It's a mystery. Things are just coming and going in life, and these pieces are moving pieces. They're huge ones, but they're moving pieces. So with authenticity or being authentic, tearing back those layers to that particular topic, what does that look like? What does that work look like? Authenticity or being authentic. Always start with you. Always start with yourself. So I'm going to start with me. I'll start with myself. And hopefully you all will have some insights as to what you need to work on and some things that kind of stand out for you, because that's the whole purpose of this podcast. It's self-work, it's self-help, it's about growth. So when we think about authentic or think about authenticity, what does that work look like when you're trying to dig deep and trying to get to what's authentic and what's not? And I think if we somewhat define it, we can get to that. So I think for me, and these are my theories, so you may agree, you may not agree, but these are my theories based on what I've experienced and based on my reflection and what I know, my perspective. So for me, being authentic, it's to admit and to acknowledge it, whatever it may be. Admitting it, acknowledging it, and not just blowing past it and saying, that just is what it is. I have to admit and acknowledge things on a regular basis. It's like ongoing. Understanding it, whatever it may be, that's another thing. And to be able to walk in it, be able to stand in it. I mean, that's just what it is. This is me. This is who I am. That's just what it is. So being able to stand in it, walk in it, for me, that's just some of those things that kind of break down what authenticity is and being authentic. In a word, it's honesty. You gotta tell the truth. You gotta tell the truth. And it is hard. It is hard. It's something we have to work on a regular basis, because it's so easy to hide behind something, someone else's words or someone else's, thoughts or safety net. It's easy to do, but honesty has to happen from the rip, like right off the bat. Honesty has to happen. I think that exposing yourself, and let me put it in Jody terms and in my terms. Let's talk about me. So exposing myself when I talk about being authentic. There are some things that, you're a little uncomfortable with, but if you're willing to, and if you want to be authentic, if you want to tell the truth, you do have to expose yourself for certain things, whether it's with work or with family or with friends. It's going to be the same situation regardless, with exposing yourself and coming out of that hiding space and, why ever it is that you need to or feel that you need to hide from something. When you expose yourself, it's a level of vulnerability that kind of allows you to just speak your truth, and it lifts some tension, it lifts some weight off you. It actually feels good to go ahead and expose yourself. Like I know the kids would say, such and such, they got exposed, or, whatever. And it's okay if you're willing to accept it for what it really is. So I think that for me, that real level of exposure kind of came when I started the job that I recently left. When I started that job, I kind of came with my own stuff. And the school that I had come from, there was some tension there. And I'm thinking that by leaving there, I'm leaving that tension there. But, you take your stuff with you. So I took that stuff with me and I showed up in a way that, yeah, it really did expose me. It exposed some of that heaviness that I had. And when I first started, people really did think, you're not going to be able to talk to her. She's not approachable, is what they said. Several of them. And this is after we really got to know each other. But there were certain things that I had to expose about myself and certain things that others exposed about me. The supervisor that I had at the time, I felt like, he didn't understand, and, two different backgrounds, two different cultures, and all these other things. I accused him of everything. But school lead said, no, y'all are going to fix this. You're going to fix this because we have an operation to run. We have kids to serve. You can't serve them with this thing that you have looming. We can't do it. And she made us over and over again, repeatedly, even gave us a book that we needed to read. And we went in there, we had to tear each other down. And we had to expose each other for who we truly were. And when I tell you, that needed to happen and that had to happen, and it happened at the best time. Because we exposed each other in ways that we didn't even understand. And from that point on, our relationship did nothing but grow. He got promoted and he moved on. And I don't get to talk to him very often because he got promoted. He has so many more responsibilities. But the lessons that I learned out of that conversation, the things that I had to expose myself from out of that conversation, have allowed me to be the person that I am today. And this is before this whole transition with my son's death. Before that, it had already allowed me to see some things and start working on some things. And I thought I was going to fall apart when he left. But I had to understand it. Hey, you didn't come here to stay. He didn't come here to stay either. So this is what happens. But relationships, when they allow the other one, or they allow each other, or they allow everyone involved to tear those layers back down to the core of it, and then start growing again, it's a level of relief and a level of growth that I just can't even explain it. But I know that our friendship now is stronger. And our relationship is stronger because of what we did, because of exposing each other. That was part of authenticity. We had to admit and acknowledge, the things that we weren't doing and some of the things that we were doing. Exposing yourself, or me exposing myself, him exposing himself as well. And it grew us. It absolutely grew us. That's that truth that you don't want. And I know that a lot of times at work or different places, you'll be asked, well, what do you think, or what would be the best type of person for this? Or I remember job interviews where I was asked, what kind of a manager, what kind of a supervisor would you like? And for me, somebody that's going to tell me the truth, tell me up front. Now, I know that dealing with friends, dealing with family, we want the truth until we don't. And when it hits us, we kind of don't want it. And then we tend to let that person go. Whoever is telling you the truth about yourself, that's who you need to keep. That's who needs to be in your corner. Now, don't get me wrong. You have some friends who just, they have that rosy outlook, and that's what they deliver. They deliver that rosy message. They're important. They're good for certain things. But if you want to grow, you better keep whoever that person is that shoots from the hip. You need to keep them close to you because they're going to keep you in check if you're willing to listen. Let me just, so examples always pop into my head, right? So the woman that does my hair, she has a salon in the house, and her husband will come in and talk to us sometimes. And I love when he comes in there because he's one that, he kind of likes to drop something and let that debate get started and then just kind of, okay, yeah, I'm gonna walk away. But he loves a good debate. Like, that's his thing. And the debates are always rooted in how far are you willing to go to get the truth or tell the truth. What can you handle? And I came in there one day and I was, this was COVID. It was a couple years back. So this was after we had been locked in, and then, she started taking in clients again, and I came in and we were doing everything virtually at that time. So at the time that I was getting my hair done, there was a book club meeting that was started. I was excited. I was hyped about it because I hadn't been in a book club in years. At that time, that was like probably 2019. I hadn't been in a book club for about 8-9 years. So I was excited to really get into a book club. So it's virtual. I got the book, but I didn't finish the book because I had just found out about the book club, less than a week before. No excuse. I didn't finish the book. It is what it is. And I go to the book club meeting, I, log on and everything. And it's not what I expected. First of all, it's not even a book club meeting because these people are talking about things that have nothing to do with the book. The one hosting the book club meeting didn't read the book. So on every level, it was just, for me, my perspective, on every level, it was just, yeah, that was a fail on every level for me. So I was upset about it. Grant happens to come in the room. That's his name, Grant. Grant happens to come in the room. He's like, hey, so, what's going on? Just in general. And I tell him, like, that's book club, because I logged off. I said, never mind. So he comes in, he's talking to me about it. And I was mad about it. I was mad because I wanted to be able to dig into this book. I started it and I was, I say, just beyond halfway, so maybe 3/4 of the way. So I wanted to talk about it. I just didn't want to get the ending, but I did want to talk about it. I talked to him about it and he was just like, well, why are you mad? But why are you really mad though? I'm like, because it was a book club meeting. He was like, I keep asking you, why are you really mad? Because it wasn't what it was supposed to be. Why are you mad? Jody, you still not telling me why you're mad. Still not telling me why you're mad about it. Are you sure it's not because you want the book club and you don't have one of your own? I'm like, wait, what? No, that's not it. And I immediately jump on, no, that's not it. But as I started to think about it, I was like, wait a minute. This really didn't cost me anything. The book was an incredible book. I ended up finishing the book a couple days later. It didn't cost me anything. So why am I really mad? It wasn't a representation of me. I didn't have any verified expectation. It wasn't at the end of this book club meeting, you will know. At the end of this book club meeting, you will feel. It was nothing like that. Those are my expectations, and it didn't meet my expectations, and I was angry about it. But at the same time, he was asking, but why though? Why? And yeah, that little voice within me, yeah, I did want something. And I wasn't willing to admit it at first. I really wasn't. But the way Grant is, he just delivers it. And that's what he says, and that's what he means, and that's it. There was another conversation we were having, and he told me straight up. He was just like, Jody, you can get mad about this all you want to, but at the end of the day, nobody cares. I'm not going to lose any sleep over this conversation. I'm just having this conversation because, yeah, Because I care about you. That's all. I'm not going to lose any sleep about this. And I thought that was so funny because who says that? Who says that, right? Someone who is willing to tell you the truth. That's who says that. And that's who Grant is. Someone who will tell you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not. Now, of course, he knows when to do that. He knows who is accepting of that. But someone who is willing to tell the truth if you're willing to listen. When I tell you, I say to myself in situations right now, at the end of the day, nobody cares. Now, he said at the end of the day, nobody cares. But what I heard was, this is your stuff for you to work out. And if anybody is going to be bent out of shape about it, it's going to have to be you. It doesn't need to be everybody else. That's what I heard. He said at the end of the day, nobody cares. But that's what I heard. This is your stuff to work out. And don't put it on anybody else. And that's true. There's nothing wrong with saying that. However, you say it to someone else, they may not want to hear that. That might not be okay with them. That's a person who wants the truth until they don't. Is that you? If it is, that's okay. That's okay. You can work towards greater. That's all I'm saying about that. But until you're willing to understand and accept that, yeah, at the end of the day, nobody's losing sleep over it. They're just not. They have their own stuff. Everybody has their own stuff. But that is the way we communicate. That's the way Grant and I communicate. And it's understood. It's understood. Now, again, he can't do that with everyone because everyone doesn't really. That's not the way everybody does it. So there's some code switching that goes on. You can still be your authentic self and do a little bit of code switching, which means to adjust to the environment for the most part. So if I'm here, well, which I am, so me on my podcast, Jody on my podcast, you are getting Jody Fervor Voice right now. But if you come to my house, cookout, you're not getting the same person. That's code switching. I'm still authentic, but I'm code switching for the environment. It's okay for me to say the things that I say in the cookout environment. Not so much on Fervor Voice, right? It's still authentic, but it's code switching. So the appropriate behavior in the appropriate environment with the appropriate culture, right? It kind of makes me think about my husband when we had a contractor over, Hispanic man, incredible guy. So he was here, kind of going through some plans and what it was that we wanted to have done. And I hear my husband shift into this amigo, and I'm like, what is that? That is not how you talk, but that's how that communication and that code switching will change. And if you notice, and I've done it too, I've laughed at myself for doing it, but that code switching comes into play. It's almost automatic. And it's almost like saying, hey, the comfort zone. This is what the comfort zone feels like. I can shift over to make sure that you feel comfortable with the way we're communicating in this. Yeah, it's all good. Everything's fine. So again, that whole communication piece, and we kind of went through a few things pretty fast. I think I'm kind of shifting quickly. My daughter reminds me all the time of how I shift quickly throughout, different, not necessarily topics, but shifting the conversation. I apologize if that's happened. But just to say that the way we communicate has to do with our authenticity, how authentic we can be. Being able to accept the truth, that has to do with how authentic you can be. Not looking for yourself or not finding yourself in someone else. There was a woman that I worked with. Her name was Ava. She was so, I don't even know how to describe her. She had this energy and this charisma about her that I really hadn't experienced before. And at the time, I was like 19, so I didn't even know what in the world I was looking at. And, we just started this job. It was a new job, and it wasn't in education at all. It was in customer service. And this was at FedEx customer service. And we were starting this new job, and we were in training, and she was flawless, always. Clothes, hair, makeup, just flawless, always. Just really classy woman. Again, I'm 19. I don't really know what I'm looking at. Not really. But I noticed her in a way that I just wanted to be like that. I was never able to be like that. I'm still not able to be like that. And now that I understand what I was looking at, I also understand that that's not an authentic me. That was an authentic her. But I wanted so much to be like her. It's one thing to want to be like someone and try to find yourself in someone, as opposed to being encouraged and influenced by someone. I wasn't necessarily encouraged or influenced by her. I just kind of wanted to be like her. And that's something that we really have to be careful with in the age of social media and all of these things. I mean, it's fine to get some makeup on and, for everything to just be right. And you take that picture and you post it. Like, that's cool. That's cool. That's you. That's what you want to present that day. But make sure that you're not getting lost in that. Photo opping is cool. I mean, I get it. It's, like to photo op and do these things and show this and show that. But don't get lost in that. That's where things come apart. That's where you're not living and being that authentic you. Everybody loves a beautiful picture. Everybody loves to kind of freeze that moment in time where you look a certain way, where you feel like you look perfect, or you feel like your energy is flowing and showing. Everybody loves that. Just don't get lost in it. Just don't get lost in it. And that's kind of that thing about understanding where you're being authentic. Understanding where, hey, this is me on 10, right? And this is me in my normal life. And also being able to realize that, hey, this is me when I'm not on 10. This is me at about 3 or 4. If you can be yourself in your 3 and 4, you can certainly be yourself in your 10. But being authentic, that's how you move. That's how you move. So that thing I absolutely, wanted to throw out there. And I know that also finding, not getting so consumed with trying to find yourself in someone else, but to admit to yourself who it is that you have become, or to admit to yourself who it is that you haven't become. That's another level of authenticity. Can you be authentic to the point that you can admit who you are not, what you have not done? How do you get to that point? I know that for me, that came through therapy. Finding out, trying to find out, admitting what you didn't do or who you are not right now. And maybe who you are not could be a good thing, but admitting to yourself, actually admitting it. So one thing that I was known for this, would be battling about what I did, what I didn't do, right or wrong. I was always battling about that. So if someone said, well, you did such and such, no, I didn't. I will immediately give you a response or some kind of a rebuttal for it. I wouldn't accept it. So I wasn't admitting it. When you're not admitting to things, or when you won't even acknowledge things or entertain it, you're shutting the other person down or shutting the other person out. That's something I didn't understand until the therapy piece came in, right? So there were certain things that would go on in my household, and I can go ahead and admit, because that's Hey, that's just the way it was. I had to have control. But I didn't know at the time that's what I was doing. I thought I was being a mom. I thought I was, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. The mom is supposed to do this. This is what moms do. And I think depending on the household, depending on the relationship, depending on the individual, there are certain parameters around your mommyhood. You operate within those parameters. But for me, I was literally making decisions that I felt I needed to make, and making those decisions without consent, without consideration for anything other than what I thought was right. And I would say and do certain things that definitely represented the role or the actions of someone that's very controlling. But if I was told that I was controlling, I'd say, no, I'm not. I didn't entertain anything. I did not care about what anyone had to say about that. That is not being authentic at all. But through therapy and through different tricks that we would do at home, and that's when I say we, I mean my husband, myself, and BJ. My daughter was away at school, but when she would come and visit, she would interact and do these things as well. And one thing that we used to do every Sunday was tribal council. And I loved tribal council because you actually talked about the things that you did throughout the week. And you mentioned whatever it was negative, and then you followed up with something positive. So if you had two positives, you had two negatives, or vice versa. If you said two different things, it was like, I didn't like the fact that you did or said this. You followed up with two positive things. So the rule is, you have to listen, you cannot defend yourself, and you have to accept what the other person is saying. This was the only way I was able to admit. This is the only way I was able to acknowledge. This is the only way I was able to understand what it was that I was doing. You cannot talk when the other person is talking. You cannot respond other than acknowledgement. Okay? That's it. That is it. So that was like a free space for my son, a free space for my husband. It's a free space for me as well. So I would encourage anyone that is listening to try this. This is when you find out what your family is actually thinking. This is when you find out why people are willing to just kind of hop over certain things and just breeze over certain things because they don't want to set you up. This is when you find out what that is. But you have to be willing to listen. You have to be ready to admit. You have to be ready to acknowledge. Then you could start to understand and just kind of stand in it, walk in it and make your way through. I remember when I started to understand that I was controlling things even when I wasn't around. I started to understand these things because it was just like everybody would just do things and leave me out. I won't say everybody, although I mean everybody. I won't say everybody, but within the family, they learned to just do things without mentioning because they didn't want my control. They didn't want me putting my hand on it. They just didn't want that. Once I realized what was going on, like through the Sunday Tribal Council, it's just like, oh, wow. There must be some truth to that. Okay, then maybe this is what's going on at work too. Yes, it was. Okay, maybe this is what's going on with the rest of the family. Yeah, it was. Okay, maybe this is what's going on with my friends. Yeah, it was. Hmm. That's that word. That's that word right there, where you talking about being authentic. When you're being authentic and when you're recognizing someone else's authenticity, it's about what's at the core. It's about what exists at the core. It's about what makes you react the way you react. It's about what makes you accept what you're willing to accept. All of those things really speak toward your authenticity or lack thereof. Doesn't make you a bad person if there's some things that you're, just kind of not really authentic with about. It just means that there's something deeper that could bring you pain, maybe. Maybe you anticipate that you won't be accepted for. Maybe it's just something that's just embarrassing to you and you're just not ready. I have no idea. But I hope that as I spoke to you today, I hope that you pulled out a couple of different things and that you're willing to work on those things. Because once you start working on them, you start to grow as an individual. And not only do you start to grow as an individual, suddenly you're able to walk in your light with confidence. When I read Jennifer Lewis's book, there was something that she said that makes me think about your own armor that you wear. And she said in her book, you can't destroy me with anything because I already told everything. I already told it. So you can't destroy me with anything. And that's what her book was. Her book was literally, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I know. That way you can't destroy me. And it's the same thing with authenticity. If you've already said it, or you've already shown it in some way, shape, or form, that is your armor. That's your protection. You don't need to hide. You're good. You're already walking in your light. What can destroy you? You're already walking in your light. You're good. There is no need to hide. No need to hide. That's what authenticity is about. I hope you looked at a couple of things and maybe pulled up your notepad on your phone or on your computer and listed a few things that you want to work on because some things stood out. I know the things that stand out for me as far as authenticity are my delivery, the way I deliver things. I remember my husband used to say, your delivery is just off. Information, the message, that's good. Your delivery is off, babe. You got to work on your delivery. And that's something that seems to be constant with me. One-on-one conversations. Just to be very careful about the delivery. Another thing that stands out for me is processing. When someone makes a comment or when someone tells you something that they feel that you do, I hope the response is not, no, I don't. I hope the response is not a rebuttal, but I hope that your response can be one of processing. In other words, saying, okay, tell me what you mean by that. Give me an example. And again, even after you get your example, not to say, no, I don't. Just sit with it. Process it. You don't have to respond right then and there. Sit with it, process it, then respond. Another way to be authentic. Another way to be authentic. I can't tell you how important authenticity is. I can't even tell you how far it takes you because it's beyond words. It's really beyond words. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I hope that you were able to grasp something important from it. And I hope that you'll start working on your authenticity because it is active. just like forgiveness is. It is active. It's something that you work on all the time. And it's something that maintains your own spirit and your core. Never let go of that. Never let go of that. Dedicating this episode to you, Grant, and your honesty and your authenticity. I appreciate you so much. Everyone listening, I need you to know that you are your own ecosystem. Everything that you need to be successful, to be valuable, you already have. You encompass all of that. You are enough. Thank you for listening. Catch you next time, same time. This is Jody, Fervor Voice. Bye-bye. Hey, friends, family, good people. It is Jody. I'm back for the recap. So the recap for who? The episode that we just completed. I enjoyed this one so much. But anyway, let's get back to the recap. So in recapping authenticity, lack thereof, we hit on so many points. I just want to make sure that you understand that authenticity looks like honesty. In a word, it looks like honesty. So having said that, be willing to, be brave enough to expose yourself. Lighten the load. Lighten that load. Expose yourself. It'll make you feel better. I promise. It doesn't sound like it, but it'll make you feel better. Like Jennifer Lewis said, you can't destroy me. You can't do nothing to me. I done already told it. She said that in her book. Not the exact words, but that's basically what she was saying, and it's true. Everything about that statement is true. Also, make truth part of the process and not conditional. Truth doesn't come with conditions. It just is what it is. So don't be that person that wants the truth, claims they want the truth until they don't want it. Truth comes without conditions. You just got to take it. You got to take that on the chin. That's just what it is. That's how you grow. Also, to be able to communicate with care. Remember, I said my husband had said to me a while back, and this has been a while back because I've been working on it. But your message is on, babe, but your delivery, your delivery is off. You got to work on that. Communicate with care. You don't want to tear anyone down. You want to be authentic. You want to deliver the truth. You do. But you don't want to tear anyone down in the process. It's difficult to do, especially if you have that personality like I have. I'm a northern girl. I'm not going to blame that on being from up north, because there are some very sensitive people that are northerners as well. But yeah, the way I grew up, we said it. Yeah. So appreciate yourself and all your stuff. You cannot find anything in anyone else. You can be encouraged by others, sure, but you can't find yourself in anyone else. Appreciate you, and appreciate everything you've been through. All the hardships, that's knowledge, and that's wisdom. My last point, feedback is a tool. It's a tool. Accept the feedback that you get. Get with your family, get with your friends, and establish some kind of tribal council, right? Because those tools that you start to establish and build your toolbox with help you to be greater and help you help others to be greater. So the more tools, the better. The more tools, the better. That is all I have for you for the recap. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Thank you for listening. I'll see you back soon. Fervor Voice, this is Jody. Bye-bye.